Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode on a mother's journey to holistic health and healing. Before I get started and bring in the conversation, I just wanted to check in with you and ask how you're doing. I hope you and your family, as always, are doing well, and we're doing the best that we can despite all the circumstances happening around the world. And then our kids are getting back ready, going back to school, so it's chaos with school wake up time, school drop off, after school pickup, after school activities, So just wanted to give you guys shout out to all of us mamas out there, parents, all of us working hard, grandparents, aunties, everybody who is helping us, giving us support while our little ones are going back to school, while we work, or if you're stay-at-home mom, whatever the case is. I hope you're all doing well and you're getting the support that you need. And today's episode, not today's episode because this is pre-recorded, but this new episode that recorded is with an awesome, amazing woman that I met about 3 years ago or so, virtually. And so this is kind of more like a spiritual one, and she's going to be talking about her spiritual awakening, her healing, how that got started, how that got activated. And it's really an amazing story this woman has. All the, she's going to talk about her traumas that she's went through, and what she has done, what's helped her to heal. And in this case, it also includes plant medicine, but also different kinds of energy work. Not necessarily like a westernized one through therapy, but a different approach that has helped her heal in so many ways. And now she's helping others, so many people in her community heal as well on all levels, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And so we're going to have to do two parts to this conversation because her story is amazing, and I don't want to miss and cut out so many details. So we're planning to do two conversations. And so we have this one where we had to end it because I had to pick up my son from school. And we're going to plan for a second one so that we can hear the rest of her story where she really integrated and embodied and started to really embody her identity as a healer. And so we're going to go into that in the second conversation. So this first one is really just about her story, how she grew up, the trauma that she went through, how she's overcoming it, what she suffered, the experiences that she went through, and, how she started to work through that. So just want to preface, just want a disclaimer. If you listen to this podcast episode in the car when you're driving with your kids or anything like that, and you are mindful about cuss words, you probably don't want to listen to this episode with them in the car. My friend here, Charlene, loves to cuss. And so I do want to just give you a little FYI warning there. And otherwise, if you don't, then play along. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. So feel free. I really appreciate it. If you are enjoying the podcast, to please leave a review for the podcast and share it on your stories. Tag me, let me know who you're sharing it to or what you thought about the episode or any episodes for that matter. What's moved you, what's sparked something in you, just really would appreciate your feedback in any way. It really means a lot to me, and of course helps the podcast grow as well. So just wanted to share that. And so yeah, I'll go ahead and start the conversation, and y'all take care. Hello, amigas. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on a mother's journey to holistic health and healing. I'm so excited for this episode because it's in a conversation, long time coming, that I've been trying to bring this amazing woman here onto the podcast. And her name is Charlene. She's going to tell you all about herself, but I do want to kind of just introduce a little bit about her and how I met her and what we're going to be getting into today. So this is Charlene, and she is
Hello.
just so a very big light, and she has had an amazing impact in my spiritual awakening, really. And so one of the things we're going to talk about is I've had the pleasure of just kind of at the beginning, just kind of watching you like on your social media. And then that first time that we met through the little Zoom thing we had with Alicia, like that was the first time I think that I had that I've like was been in your presence and like what you were doing, right? So just something about you was like, who is this girl? And like, what is she about? I was like, I don't know, but I want more of it because something got activated. One of that we did activations that day, so we're gonna get on
We
to
did
that
it.
today.
I think we did a chakra alignment
Yeah,
with
we
the
did
light codes
something.
and something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after that, obviously, like became my dedication to my own spirituality, my spiritual health, and what that was for me, and reconnecting with that. And so, so yeah, today we're gonna get into her journey, where she started, where she was before, what kind of experiences she went through that have been breaking points in her life to help her get to where she is now, because she is an amazing medicine woman, a healer, a shaman, whatever you want to call it. Like, she does everything from connecting with guides, from helping people work through their shadows. And really, she has been such an eye opener to the community, and I'm sure in her community as well, and just helping our collective, like our communities, to raise our consciousness and help us to see beyond our shadows, but also to work through our shadows to see that we can heal, because this also helps us. It's a ripple effect, right? It's like a ripple effect. When we work on our healing, then we also help others around us as well. It's the way that I see it. So I'm going to bring her in so she can really give herself more of a introduction and tell us about herself. So come on in, girl.
Aho, hermana, thank you for that. And it's such a pleasure to be here, and especially as mothers, most of all, because I feel like, we're medicine people and doing all these things, and like coming together to like, as mothers, it feels very comforting that, you get to understand the life that I have aside from just, helping people. And it's beautiful. So my name is Charlene. I never give myself a label because I feel like labeling is like just so overrated. And to be honest with you, because I am a psychic medium trance channel, I like to say I'm a multidimensional healer because, as a channeler and as a trance channel, so people understand, is like I'm a writer.
Yes.
So it's like a passenger seat where I'm a writer, where basically when spirit allows me to channel spirits, guides, different people, like sometimes the death people, or sometimes, beautiful, spiritual archangels, a galactic light of federation, and connect to different dimensions and portals that help us to bring codes and bring us like healing. And sometimes I become a whole curandera, like, through the channels. I do have spirits that come in very wise, very knowledgeable, very, I always say it's not medicine from here because it's just so galactic, so ancient too, as well, because you want to go galactic new age or you want to go ancient, and I feel like it's all collided because it's so connected. So there's that part of me, so that's why I never say, I never ask myself, when they ask me what are you, I'm like, I'm many things.
Yeah, and it's true, because we are many things. We are not just one
I'm a
thing.
mom, I'm a wife,
Yeah.
I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm so many different things. And so I feel like, coming into a space of, giving myself a label has been, I've not had my issues. Like I would like, okay, I need to give myself an issues because I'm also a yoga teacher. I'm also a meditation teacher. I've done curanderismo, shamanism. I have done so many different things, but I like to keep it as multi-dimensional healer, And I feel like it's also with the trans channel, being a writer, it's like shit, like I cannot give myself a label.
It doesn't, and it doesn't make sense to either, and I think that's a lot of problem that people have, is like we put ourselves in certain boxes, and like you said,
limitations,
labels, and that limits us. Yes.
So I'm also like my 24/7 job as a mother. That's the hardest job I have.
And you have 2 kids, right? You have your son and your daughter.
I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old, which today we dropped him off at the pilot school because he wants to become a pilot. And my little daughter, she's going to be 3 in December. And it's amazing just, how beautiful it is to, share this medicine. And I've always told my kids, like, monetarily, I might not leave you what I need to leave you, but my knowledge and my wisdom of how you can actually heal yourself and connect to yourself and just remember who you truly are and what you're supposed to be doing here. It's so powerful for me to tell them, like, I'm leaving you behind this gift, which is a gift, because our kids tend to get the gifts, you know what I mean, back, just like a generation,
Yeah. I love that, because we can get really not mixed up, but like really confused and just mixed messages and just all this conditioning, obviously, of like materialism, right? And money. And while we do, like, if we could have that money that we could to save for our children as they get older, like to have them quote unquote well off and not worry about anything. Yeah. But at the same time, like, and if you didn't, you still have this wisdom, like this, don't forget where you come from, who you are, like something that can never be taken from them, which is a whole different gift and medicine that can be passed down onto their generation, so forth, right? And so I think that's too, like, that's part of the call also, like if you have that calling, right? Like somehow within us, like maybe we have that calling to do that work. And I think just, you know, for me personally speaking, like I've had that calling, like this, just like you have had that calling,
and
right?
we're also learning, and I feel like this is so important because as parents, we're learning to be parents, we're learning to be a wife, we're learning to be a medicine person, we're learning to be whatever it is. And I feel like teaching this to our kids, it's taking us so long to cut the patterns, the behaviors, and all the, you know, all the unnecessary, unwanted traumas and things that we're leaving behind, because the values should continue. The values of respect and the morals and everything should be the same. But like ways to help them heal themselves so they don't take things personal in life is so important. Like, what, you know, the difference that would have made that if our parents were at this stage. So it's also valuable. All this years of learning, it's something that you're leaving behind. So it's something very important as spiritual people that we're teaching our children to pass this generation achievement or a work or whatever you want to call it, you know, because it's so important. It's valuable.
It's unlearning. It's learning to unlearn. Really unlearning all the bullshit, like all the crap that that like the crazy capitalism and just consumerism and just everything, like all the isms, right, that disconnects us from who we truly are and from the elements and from our earth and from everything, just like we said is the meaning.
It's not a coincidence, babe, because I know that we had to reschedule this because we were having so many issues the other time. But it's like right now that I dropped off my son at the school, like, you know, they're showing him the different airplanes, but taking him there, and there was a lot of paramedics and firemen like right there and stuff, and I was just like, don't you want to be a pilot? Like, he's like, Mom, I told you that I want to be a pilot, okay? And I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely. So his divine source of all the work that I've done healing before I had him and still heal as I had him, it's so important because he has a brain that he knows what he's here to do. And we've opened that gateway, because imagine if I mean, I'm just giving an example, you know, but like I could imagine myself non-heal version, because like I was a toxic bitch, you know.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna go down there.
So imagine like putting all this painful shit into my kids. They would be like so fucking worried about my fucking feelings and emotions and all these different things, instead of like focusing on what they want. And I can see it at 7-year-old, because at 5-year-olds he told me, I want to be a vet to take care of the animals, because he says he was sent here to protect all the animals and to learn about them and to be the pilot. And I was like, okay. So, you know, clearing this as human beings, you know, as parents, is so important to pass on what we weren't allowed to do, because we were so, you know, we had trauma, we had things, and we're still clearing that off, you know what I mean? So it's like that gives them that open ways to like understand what they're doing in a safer way, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Yeah, and it's it's felt in their DNA, like they just something that's been passed down generation to generation. Exactly. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So we are going to start, and we're going to take it back to, I want to know, what was it like for you as a child growing up?
So, and it's so funny because I was just having this conversation with my mom yesterday, and guys, like, I want you to understand something. As you're healing, your parents, when you say something like terrifying or something that you would like, your parents are still like, but I gave you the life that you do, you know? And every time I talk about this, I'm like, please don't take it personal. This is my emotions, what I felt into that aspect, because my mom still gets a little triggered, you know, which is okay. And then I always have to tell her, this is my feelings. I'm very grateful for what you've done, but this is how I was. So as a child, I feel like, we have remembrance when you're like 3 and 4 and you have all these beautiful things. And, looking back, I was telling my mom, I was like, you guys were curanderas all the time. You never took me to the doctor. You guys, like you and my grandma or everybody, it was always like home, like remedies and all this different things, and that's something that I actually like recognized yesterday, where I was just like, yeah, because I was like, we never went to an actual like clinic or anything like that. It was more like in-house, you know what I mean? And I started to like piggyback off that, and I was just like, wow, it's always been in our DNA. It's just like we never like enforce it, because it was just like they didn't give themselves that props, let's just say. So growing up was it was beautiful. I feel like I had both of my parents together. I didn't know now as an adult, as I was speaking to my mom, all the shit that went through. So I had a good childhood with both of my parents until I was like 9 or 10, when you start to see things, you start to like,
pick up on stuff.
Yeah, be like more pick up on stuff, but sometimes there's so much anger. I always say that our inner child could be wounded, could be happy, could be all these different things, and then you get to your teenager, somehow it's fucking pissed off. Right?
Yeah.
So coming into that teenage years, I think it was a little difficult because I was never super skinny. There was a lot of insecurities from my family, like, oh, you have a big nose, oh, you have this, or you're chubby, stuff like that. So I feel like the bully came. Yeah, the bullied came like once I was like 9 or 10, when I was like more conscious, and you try to be more conscious of like,
you're adjusting to your peers.
Yeah, like, how you look, how you want to like walk, and socially, and then family wise, there's so many different things going on that you stop living for yourself. It's like you have to be at a certain level of, I don't even know what you want to call that.
Acceptance, right? It's like you're at that age, or that period where you're wanting to either liked, or it's like acceptance, or it's like validation or whatever. And it's that like you mentioned, it's that age where you could become more aware of things.
Yeah.
You start slowly conforming or trying to be like the other person, or being quote unquote normal, or fit in. Right?
You know what my son asked me today? He's like, Mommy, coming to the school, he's like, what did you want to be as a child when you were a child my age? And I looked at him and I was like, wow, his consciousness level is like, he asked me this question, and I was like, and I smiled, and I was like, I've never been asked this question, Papa. Because you have been, but like not like with someone so intimate like your family. Maybe a friend asked you or something. And I turned around and I was like, Papa, man, I didn't become what I wanted to become, but I had different dreams. And then that's when I told him, you need to be grateful that, we're in a different time, space, and moment that you are doing what you're doing. I'm like, but I wanted to be, do you remember Don Francisco?
Uh-huh.
I used to love that show.
I used to stay at my grandma's, and we always used to watch it all the time.
Dude, I used to love it. So I always imagined myself being in the fucking talent show
on
there.
His show?
Singing or dancing or just talking, right? Because I love to talk. I love to fucking talk,
Yeah.
So, and then I wanted to do that. I love fashion design, which I did do into my high school years, which I took fashion design for like 2 years. And then I also wanted to be kind of some sort of doctor. So I love helping people.
Yeah.
But, all these and I did work in the medical field as an adult. So, but then I realized at that moment, I was like, God, this is too much work. That it doesn't come naturally.
And then the fact of just being there all day, right? What were you doing in the healthcare facility?
I was a medical assistant, and I was a weight loss manager. And
you mentioned that last time.
Yeah, I used to be a manager. Well, I didn't start as a manager. I started off like doing lab work and like looking at all the blood things and stuff like that, and doing a lot of like pulling charts, being front desk and stuff like that. And then I went to like doing like back office stuff, and then I got into like the weight loss nutrition counseling, which I had to do. And then I became like a counselor to helping people lose weight and feel better, which is kind of what I do now, but without the losing weight part. It's more emotionally and mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
But somehow, losing weight requires a lot of spiritual, mental aspect, right? Because I was always chunky.
Discipline. Oh,
Yeah, for high
you mean like
school.
how it affects you? You mean like mentally? You mean or emotionally? Or
Well,
is that what
yeah,
you mean?
because if you really think about it, like weight loss, like for example, I started doing this weight loss. It was called the ACG. It was like
Mm-hmm.
the whole the home homeo.
The
It's such
hormones?
homopathio something. Like
Oh.
basically, we use the hormones from the pregnant woman, and we inject them with an insulin needle into our into our body, and
Hmm.
it replaces a calorie intake just like as you're
Oh.
pregnant. So your store fat, your reserve fat starts eating your store fat, and it gives you the nutrients from your own fat and stuff like that. So when I
Oh.
did this, I was, like I said, I was always on the heavier side. Um, there's a lot of reasons why, now that I see it as an adult, why I was in a heavier side. One, my parents never said eat healthy, da da da, nothing like that. Two, I feel like because I was abused as a teenager,
Mm.
you start to close yourself off to those things. Like you don't want
Mm-hmm.
to look too much or too pretty or to be too.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that was part of my trauma within that time,
Can I
and I
pause for
did,
a minute?
yeah.
What can I ask you? What kind of abuse that you suffered from?
Um, one of my cousins abused me like sexually.
Oh
I
my
was like
god.
14.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
And my parents were coming into a separation, and we were getting our house remodeled, and we stayed somewhere, and he was a lot older than me, and I've never
Mm.
actually spoke about it like in front of people and stuff like that, because I don't want family to be like, "Oh, da da da." I've healed that part of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to bring drama to something that it is. But I even told my mom, I'm like, if I have a possibility, I am gonna confront him one time, because I haven't seen
Hmm.
him yet.
Oh.
I saw him like probably like 10 years ago.
Mm.
But it's like nothing happened. But
Mm-hmm.
it was a point in place where I was maturing. Of course I was into
Mm.
guys. I was scored with all this stuff. And then it was
Yeah, you're
like
in
a
high school,
far
yeah.
away cousin, I would say, like not too
Mm.
close.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I was coming into my essence. I was already having boobs and stuff like that. And it's that
Developing.
time with your parents are so, this is my teenage year. I feel like when
Mm-hmm.
I needed to, by 9, 10, I had to be like already so mature, because my parents
Mm.
were on and off. My dad lived in TJ, I lived over
Mm.
here, and we lived in TJ. We were
So
always
you're
like
going
back and
back and
forth,
forth. Oh, you were
back and
visiting
forth,
your dad and your mom back and
until
forth.
my dad got his papers, and then we come over here,
Oh.
and then they get a restaurant. And like at this time, my mom already had, it's 6 of us.
Oh.
But with my dad, she had 3 kids, which is only me and my brother right now. And then we were just us two. And so coming into being over here, my mom was always working, and
Mm.
she was hustling, my dad too, and stuff like that. So we, you know, there was not that time of like affection,
Mm-hmm.
that time of like what I do to
Yeah.
my son now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The presence.
Um,
There wasn't the presence. Or if there was, they were just like have to survive their self. With
yeah,
their,
it was, and I understand, and trust me,
yeah.
I do not blame my parents at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
after I sat with plant medicines and I've done so much energy work, I understand that it wasn't my
Mm-hmm.
parents' fault, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not even my grandparents' fault. This is
Mm-hmm.
just like a chain of
Yeah.
programming that we're
Yep.
just here to live, and this is your
Exactly.
life you got.
Exactly.
So
The programming.
so,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I do give him a little bit of like, hey, you guys could have listened to us a little bit more.
Mm.
But because, when you're in a heartbreak, when you're going in through all this separation stuff, because I've even had conversations with my husband too, like, okay, we've had issues and like we're going to separate or stuff like that. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come to that point, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what I mean is like, our parents at that moment, they're coming from abuse, from diseases, from
Yeah.
like, like
Yeah.
we're
Heavy
talking about like
things.
100 years from now, like they're always on survival. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
nobody taught them how to be parents, but they
Right.
were yet the best parents, because they nos sacaron adelante. They
Yeah.
fucking, they fed us. They did everything they could,
Yes. To
and
keep you alive
to
and
keep you alive,
fed.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
keep you breathing.
Yeah.
And then eventually, we pull in all this different energies and things, and I feel like they didn't even have this opportunity to
Yeah.
even love themselves, and
Yeah.
because they were so young to having kids, and
And so in
they were,
survival mode. Exactly.
yeah. So I don't blame them, but I do blame the fact that they could have been a little bit more on top. responsibility with my dad. He could have stopped not being such a man whore, and my mom was always there. And I always tell people, like, you can have both of your parents there all the time, but sometimes they're just not there. Their soul's not there.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come from parents separated and stuff like that, because you have so many different dynamics. I had friends that didn't have their dad and they were a whole shit show. You know what I mean? Or they didn't have their mom. Parents that had their both parents together and they were still shit shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have the good and all this stuff. So I always came to say, what is it to be a good child? You know, I feel like you ask your question. You ask yourself, what is it to be a good child? You know,
or to feel that love. You know, and for me, like, too, I guess if you're blessed, right, you have at least one person that gives you that unconditional love or that mental attention or emotional attention, right? And that is like your person that makes you seen, felt, and heard and loved, and you're like, you feel safe with, and that carries you on to being like, okay, I'm okay, because you have that one person, you know what I mean? And maybe, I mean, I'm speaking from my personal experience too, because that's like my grandma right there, that I'm talking about. But I feel
which
like
it wasn't your parents, right? It was like that grandma. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I feel like this is so common in Hispanic communities because grandmas at a certain age ya no trabajan. So it's like they're really mi suegra en paz descanse, you know, she's in a better place, you know. I always tell my husband, I'm like, did your mom did this to you? Because she was like, dude, like, she was just like, she would play with them. She became a total kid with them and stuff like that. And she never had the opportunity with her kids because she was always working
and always trying to keep them in survival mode. Yeah, it's like my mom now,
like,
with my girls. It's like she's trying to do everything that she can with them. Then she couldn't do it with me.
And it's like, okay, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because it's just like, okay, because if you're not in a healed state, you're gonna resent your parents. Because somebody told me, they're like, you don't get jealous that your parents, your mom didn't do this with you. I was like, absolutely not. I actually embraced this moment because, you know, my mom didn't have this opportunity. She had to be working. She had to be doing this. She had to be doing all that stuff. And now that she's older and that she's in a more better state of mind, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you know, I can see when she gives that love to my daughter, I love it, because I know she didn't have that love, because my mom was very cold with me. To be honest with you, my mom was a cold person because she didn't receive that love. It was always tough love, you know?
That's how my mom was too. Same thing.
And I could have done the same pattern if I didn't choose to heal. Okay? So, and that's really important, because with all the trauma that I've been through, because obviously after that, you close yourself up, and then you don't want to tell anybody, because then you're ashamed, you're guilty, and then also what I came to figure out as an adult is like, okay, if I would have told that to someone, they would have been like, it was your fault, you know? So it was that kind of like, so you kind of close yourself down too. And so obviously after you have, you know, intimacy, you're just like, oh my God, like, you have expectations here and there, and you never think, like, you know, in movies and fairy tale stories that tell you, like, oh, it's the man of your lives, and that's the only man that you're gonna be with, right? And it's like
programming.
So that it's a programming, and then so you start to think, like, I'm not worthy enough to have a person now, because that's what the programming tells you. So coming to like teenagers from like 14 to, I was a fucking rebel. I was pissed off. I was grouchy. I was smoking at 14. I was partying in clubs in Mexico. I was in papas and beers at 14, girly.
We were doing that here, except I wasn't 14. I was like probably 15 or 16, because we have Juarez right here, and we live in the border town. It's exactly.
So I was like partying, this and that. And let me tell you something. I never wanted to do drugs, like as like, you know, getting into like any type of drugs into it, because, you know, I do have a sister that, you know, she was like a mirror to me and a reflection to be like, I do not want to be in this space in this time like her. And not to judge her, just, you know, because she was my mirror to be like, I honor you. You know, you're going through this and you're showing me the way. But I would always see my sister how she was, you know, rehabs here and there. So I was just like, no, if I fucking do any type of drug, like that was my protector. I always say that she's the one that protected me to never really fall into anything, because we see it, right? And the fucked up part is like nobody teaches you this with alcohol. So I started drinking at a young age, and it's like it makes you feel cool, all this and that. Like you're just trying to fucking be cool. You're trying to
fit in, and
you're trying to fit in.
Yeah, and then numb everything. You're trying to numb and not forget about whatever else is going on, or forget about the pain.
You know what? I didn't realize that I was numbing at that time because, like I said, I feel like I was really ignorant in what emotions were. I was really ignorant on what.
I think too.
That wasn't acknowledged. Our generation.
I don't think we acknowledged any of that.
We never spoke about it.
No. Not even think about it.
I don't think my mom ever fucking told me, how are your emotions feeling? Or my dad. Never in my fucking life, And I asked this to my son because he's very open and he's just like, I need space right now, and I feel very angry right now. So and sometimes I laugh and I'm like, you little fucking shit, I'll kick your ass. But he's also learning from me that I'm also like when
boundaries.
Yeah, and when they tell you like, oh, you can't tell your kids anything, you can't be that, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. I've taught my kids that if I'm feeling in a bad mood, I turn around, so they understand not to fuck with me. Even my husband, my little, and I tell them, I'm like, I am not feeling good right now. My head is pounding. I have a lot of shit to do. I need help, and I'm learning to ask for help with them too. Good. Because this way I give myself that space, you know. And they're my son's very good at it. My husband's good at it. My daughter, she doesn't understand what space is right now because she's such a mommy's girl.
Yeah, she's still
she's little, But at the same time, I'm like, I need space, okay? And then they let me do my thing, but it's like I want to teach them that it is okay to say I need this moment right now because I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I tell them it's not you guys, I'm just feeling a little bit overwhelmed or stuff like that, because you're teaching them,
and that helps them recognize that too, right? Because if you are communicating that and expressing how you feel too, like I'm feeling this XYZ, I need help with whatever, like you are at least being able to open up and express how you feel, and then so that helps them better understand a little bit more, express themselves, right? Too. Yeah, and then they realize that, right? They understand that too. So that sets the example for them as you're telling them. They also little by little start to see that too. And I like my son and your son, I think would get along so well because like he just reminds me so much of my son. My son does that too. It's like he's feeling tired. He was like, he comes in his room, he has his book, whatever he's reading, and I come in. Oh, go away. I want to be alone right now. I don't want you to be in here with me. I go, okay, I'm sorry. So I know, like, and we make it so much about ourselves. Like a lot of the times we can make it much about ourselves, but no, it's like, it's not you. Just like you point out to them, it's not you. You didn't do anything. I'm not feeling well. I need to rest to feel better. And we can teach them the same thing, right?
Yeah.
By shedding that example. And that's something that we're breaking.
And I also cry in front of them. Like I don't I'm very vulnerable. Like if I'm feeling something, or if we get in an argument with, my husband, or if I get in an argument with my mom or anything like that, I come into a space and I start crying, and, my son, has the capacity to say, are you okay? What's going on with you, mama? Or when I'm really tired, when I had to work a lot and I'm just tired and I'm sleeping and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. And he just comes and he's like, mommy, it's okay. I'll take care of the baby. You rest because you look a little stretched out, because he has a bearded dragon and he learns about the stretching of the. And I look at him. I'm like, I stretched out? That means I look fucking horrible. And so he has this way of communicating. He's so gentle. So special. But he's. I had to learn. Also, I don't know if it happens to you, girly. He's also 7. Like sometimes, like when he still throws some tantrums and stuff, I'm like,
oh yeah.
And yes. And let me tell you something. What did our parents say? Cállate el hocico y te voy a dar una putiza. Like they were just like, don't cry, don't do this. So it's like they couldn't allow us to express our emotions. Right. 1 and correct. 2, they didn't even ask us, why were you upset? Exactly. So these are the things that I try to make me with my son. So then I understand him and I get to know him. Oh, yeah. Because I get to know who he is, what he doesn't like, and what he likes. Because, and
what helps him, right?
And now you're teaching them, like, okay, you don't like this? You cannot do this to other people either. Because you're teaching them not to be a bully. You're teaching them how to have values and morals and how to also not take back patterns and behaviors. For example, I smoke cigarettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sees me smoke cigarettes because there's people that are like, oh, I can't smoke in front of people. And I'm like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and hide of my kid, because I'm very I'm very open, because I've had those, those parents are like, oh, this or that, like, and I also cuss. I love to cuss, because I love to cuss, not in a bad way, but it's different when I tell you you're a fucking bitch than saying like, oh fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I catch myself in certain situations where I turn around, and he looks at me, he's like, you're not supposed to cuss, and I'm like, you're right, but I'm an adult, so when you get older and you don't like how I cuss, you shouldn't do it. You don't have to do it. But and this is the way of also be saying, I'm not going to shift and change my authenticity just because I'm trying to do, because then I'm being a fake person. You know what I mean? So like, I'm very open for me to be open, and they accept me, but I accept and recognize certain flaws that I have, that I do tell my kids. Like, for example,
we're human. Yeah.
He asked me, why did you smoke? Why you smoke, Mom? Like, he asked me these questions, and I turned around, I was like, you know what? It was a horrible habit, Papa. And it's a bad habit. He's like, then stop smoking. And I looked at him, I was like, I don't want to stop right now. I'll stop when I stop. He's like, it's really bad. It messes up your lungs and da-da. So he's like, all this stuff. So, I'm like thinking in myself, I'm like, well, he's asking me to stop and stuff, but I'm also have to be honest. Why would I lie to my son and say, oh yeah, I'm going to stop smoking for you? I'm not. You know what I mean? So I'm that
just
parent
honest.
I'm a parent that's very honest, because I want him to be honest with me too.
Yes.
So that's something I didn't get from my parents. Like, our fucking tias and our fucking parents, they would hide shit from me. Oh, this is adult stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why would you hide something that can help us in the long run,
Yes, exactly.
Certain things, of course, we have to hide.
Or they see it as a way of quote unquote protecting. Or maybe, I don't know.
That made us fucking become liars.
Yeah, well, exactly. It didn't help. It didn't work out in the end, but they see it as that, maybe. I don't know.
No, okay, no shame, tias and tios out there.
I know.
But, it made us become liars, Also lying to our kids.
And to ourselves.
Lying to our kids. Our parents lied to us. We fucking lied, So I feel like more authenticity, more things, like even being in this journey of medicine healing, especially because I serve the combo, I serve the Aya, I serve Bufo, I serve medicines, many people will call them drugs, because that's their mentality, their ignorance,
right.
But there was a point in my life when my baby was so little, and he would like to come in and like do the maracas or stuff like that. And I remember someone told me, oh no, you can't have him here because you do limpias, you do all these different things, and it's gonna affect them energy and stuff like that. So I actually had fear from doing that and allow them to see what I do. And then I really sat with medicine one time, and she told me, Abuela was like, this is the path that I'm doing, and my kids should see what I'm doing so they understand it is not bad. Because if I try to hide it, then it looks bad.
Then you're making it bad. Yeah, exactly.
And it does. And I thought about it. I was like, I really sat there. I was like, oh my God, this is so. What if he picks up something? And some beautiful elder person told me, she says, always remember that if you can protect other people, what fucking makes you think you can't protect your own? And I thought about it, I was like, you're right. And he's like, they're always, and they will always have the angels. So never think about negative energy. That's a fear tactic. And then, and think about it, when we're doing limpias and rituals, I'm sorry, but we should like do this on a daily basis. How are you protecting yourself? My boy was 3. He would feel overwhelmed, and he would bring an egg and cleanse me. He's like, can you cleanse me? So it's like, oh wow, he's like, learning that, these are sacred tools and medicines that he, in the far long run, he's going to teach to himself and to his people. And it should be not hidden or kind of, it's bad, because it's taboo.
That's how it started, right? For our ancestors or whoever that came, that condemned it, right? It's a lot of the whether it's the colonizers or whomever, like we could say it's that condemned all of it, and that's why it was so feared, and that's why it took.
And
probably,
it wasn't our ancestors' fault, really.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Was just like you said, it was.
Or they would get hurt,
killed.
Or they just saw them as a threat, maybe too, right? And they didn't want them to have all that power, and so maybe over time that they got scared and stopped doing some of it, and it took long for us to reconnect it. Exactly, you know, that's how I see it too. It's crazy.
Don't get me wrong. There is evil that exists. Mm-hmm. It's the polarity of Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've heard of people doing bad things and stuff like that. You know, and it does exist. And this is the reason why we need to teach our kids that you need to heal mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Yes. So you are protected with the guided light, and you're that beacon of light that, you know, you have a shield.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So and healing is one of the ways, you know, healing your own self. Because I always say, when you can tame your demons, there is no demon outside that's going to come and scare you, because you've seen your own shadows and your own fuckery inside of you, that you're not even scared of those things. You see them and you're like, fuck, that's, you know, it's scary. It still looks scary. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, I already faced it. This is someone else's demons. Because I always say emotions and feelings are demons, even, you know.
Yeah. And I think too, like when it comes to healing itself, like I feel like it's maybe only certain people in that lifetime that feel like it's that they're called to do the healing work, right? I mean, the other people just won't go down that road for whatever reason, right? They're going to have whatever reason, or maybe they're not even aware of it. But I feel like those that maybe, like, especially the listeners, are here for a reason, because that's obviously the name of the podcast title, is because, we're healing on all different levels of our well-being, like our mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, physical body. So speaking of healing, like, take us back to that time when you started your healing journey, like the significant experience or like a catalyst to that time that was like your first awakening that, you know, started you on your path.
I didn't move out of my house when I was 15. I lived with my sister, and I was taking care of my nephew because she was working. So I was doing homeschool. And then I didn't go to I think it was a sophomore or junior year. I'm not sure what year it is. But junior year. I didn't go to junior year. I was always moving around. I never had stability, girl. Like, because my mom was trying to make my dad stop being a man whore, and she would move us and use us as a fucking little bacon, you know. And you know, I'm pretty sure many people have experienced this, and I still see it with some people still, that they use their children for their resources, right? So when I was 17, I started working at the medical field. I was about to turn 18, and I was such a hustler. I was always working. At 15, let me tell you guys, at 15, I was working with a fake fucking residence card, which I'm a fucking citizen. But I went to Santana right here, and I got a fake card, you know, to work. At 15 at Chipotle when it first opened. Oh, wow. So, you know, I was there. And then I remember at that time, I also had an experience with the manager where he was such a fucking pervert, you know, and it's like, sometimes you're just like, oh my God, I'm working here. And thinking like I was at some place. I was like, oh my God, this person's going to want to do something And he would always,
you didn't feel safe. You felt uncomfortable.
I did not feel safe. But at that moment, like, I feel like at that moment, I was like, fuck, I'm going to get fired. So you're always having this fear if you don't do the things. And let me tell you, programming that, you know, if I didn't do certain things and stuff like that, and he was so flirty and disgusting, I was like, oh my God, like, but at the same time, it's like, what do you do? Because you're trying to fucking make a living or whatever it was. And at that moment, my mom, I don't know where the fuck she was, because she would go to like other states and here and there. So I wanted more stability. So I stayed with my sister. And then I stayed with my other sister when I was 14, because I didn't want to be in Mexico studying. I wanted to be here. So you see, there's a lot of trauma there, you know, like a lot of abandonment from my end too, because I chose, and I recognize this as an adult, I chose
to leave.
Forgive me. I chose to not want to be with my parents because there was just too much arguing, too much trauma.
You couldn't take it anymore. Yeah.
No, I mean, I feel like what really like put the cherry on top was, you know, when my mom went to the the person that my dad wasn't faithful to my mom. She took us there, and I think I saw, we were in the car, and she like wrecked her car, and she was like, get the fuck out of the house. That was really traumatizing because I was with my little brother, and it was just like chaos and her energy. And it's like, even going back to that, like I always think about her in that moment, like, and I was like, I wish I could have held her if she allowed me to hold her and tell her it was going to be okay, you know, like my son does to me when I'm feeling overwhelmed. But because we didn't have that connection, I couldn't do anything but not even ask a question, because we were asking a question and it was like a slap or like a, you know, like
she was always on defense mode, like she was on survival mode too, like her nervous system. Yeah.
So when I moved with my other sister, and then I moved with my other sister, you know, you always have like, it's never the same being home, because from having it all to not having nothing, that was bad, you know. And then my mom took you know, she was, you know, addicted to the casino, and my dad was all this, so we ended up like having nothing. And so I was like, I need to work, I need to hustle. And now that I think about it, I honestly have gratitude, because it made me not be in survival. Well, I was in survival, right? But it made me understand what was to work for your living in life, because we think it's so fucking easy. You know, I would tell my mom, you need to leave him, you're stupid. Like, I was such an hocicona to my mom, and there was so much anger inside of me that I was just, I that's the rebel inside of you. You're like, I could have done this different. Of course you fucking don't know, because you're so young. You don't understand the values, the things that you're leaving behind, you know, the economical shit, all the hard work you put into this relationship. You don't understand any of the stuff.
You don't
you're
know what's
young,
going on.
You're dumb. You're you're thinking as one person. You're not thinking as the mother of, you know, now that I'm a mother, I'm like, oh shit, now I think about my children, you know. But then again, like all this like energetic, like, it even feels so heavy, you know, to be like, oh my God, all these things that I was like holding in. I walked into work. So I started working, and then by 17 I was out of my house, and I moved out with a guy that I did not, honestly, to this day, you know, I was not into. He was just my gateway to like get out of the house, because my mom was so unstable, and obviously you become the fucking mother of your fucking brother and sister, you know. So I was like, hell no, I don't want to do this and that. But at this moment, girly, I never understood what was to go flying, go fucking out in a fucking, you know, vacation, do all these different things, which I did have as a little girl. But as an adult, you don't, because your social contact changes. Like, you got to wear good clothes and brand clothes and this. Like, you get stuck in this,
more
like,
programming.
More
of how you look to get accepted and to be loved, to be seen, to be validated. Exactly.
Yeah, to be
on
validated.
Top of that. And then here comes the ads, the TV, the ads, the movies, the
and then
dolls,
to fit in.
And
you know,
the pressure,
even with crowds,
and the pressure to fit in with your peers. Exactly.
Yeah, and I will not blame my parents of like not them being educational. But, you know, my parents didn't have that ability. And I have a lot of compassion, because at that moment I was like, these motherfuckers didn't fucking teach me how to do this. And this is why I can't be a doctor. So I came into the blame, the victimize mode, right? Which we all do, because it's easier to blame someone than to actually blame yourself, you know? But the decisions and choices of me moving out of the house and becoming all this, is not going to college at that young age, doing everything, was kind of like my choice. You know what I mean? Because I thought that was the fastest way, and I was going to get away from problems, which I was creating more problems as a teenager. So I did an NLP, which is a networking that helps you with your emotions and all this stuff. It's a big course that the clinic that I went to, the doctor was like sending these people for them to have a better moment in life instead of bringing shit to work.
How did you come to that, or what? How did you find that, or
well, because he went to this course and it helped him out so much. My doctor that I used to work with.
Oh, the doctor used to
when
work
I was
with
18
at the clinic.
So
okay.
I was at 18. By the way, ever since I was little, I love candles and all this like witchy thing, because my mom used to have friends that were all witches, y my mom echa las cartas. So I was there, and let me tell you something. When I was 14, girly, I got my cards read. The first time I actually read cards was when I was fucking 14, and I still talk to this friend, and And when I would see my mom and her friend and stuff like that. I was like, let me see, you know? And then I fucking tossed the cards. Everything that I told her happened. Wow. Everything. He was cheating on her because she was 15 and she was dating this guy and he was older than her. And I told him he's going to have a baby. I'm like, I see like it was crazy.
Wow.
Point is that he was having a fucking kid and she didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's the first time I actually did a card. And the lady, my mom's friend, told me one time, she told me, she's like, you're going to dedicate yourself to this. But let's keep in mind, guys, she used to do black magic. Okay. So I was just like, hell no, I'm not freaking doing this shit. But of course, I think she didn't understand the shifts and the changes that our earth is happening. But she said that I was going to dedicate myself into this cleaning and like this whole thing. And I was barely 14. I was like, no, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm just going to be something higher. Cause that's what that's what you think. You want to make money.
It was sent to you in that message from her, somewhere planted in your subconscious, somewhere deep in there in the back of that file cabinet, right? That's interesting.
I didn't think right, and I laugh now because I was like, that bitch was right.
Dang, that is so cool. That is so cool. And then what happened? You went to that thing or whatever, the test, or what'd you say?
So when I started working at the medical field, the doctor, he was very sweet. I was always very hardworking. I'm a type of person. My mom taught us. This is the one thing that I tell you. This is why values are so important. Like, she didn't give me the love. She didn't give me the affection. She didn't give me the fucking whatever, the tools that I needed as an adult. Yes, she gave me the values to always respect and be a hardworking person, right? So and I also had to learn the hard way, so when I started working at the clinic, I was working 2 jobs. I was a hostess at Citrus Cafe, and then I was working at the clinic. So I started with office work there because my sister got me into that job, and it was paying good. I mean, it was paying like $9 at that moment, so it was amazing. I'm talking about 2013. So after I got off of high school, so I was like, oh, this path is good, and I'm in the medical field. I'm gonna marry a fucking doctor, like all these different things, right? And
so like, would you say back then were you like quote unquote happier or felt better? Like,
hell no, girlie. Like if you ask me right now, I was a desmadre. Like, I was like, girl, all I thought about was like fucking going out to dancing. I love dancing. Like, I would like to go dancing and meet people and guys and stuff like that. And obviously I didn't have anybody until like I was 18. I didn't want to have sex with anybody until I was like 17, 18 because of the trauma that I experienced. So, the doctor that I work for, day course, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he paid for it, which was like probably like $500 or something. They would teach us like the basics of connection and how to do all these things. And in that moment, when I was in that course, I remember I didn't talk to my dad. I didn't talk to my mom like I did, because I was like, I moved away from you guys because I don't want to fucking see you guys. So don't fucking ask me to fuck, Like, I was already on my own. So I was living in a townhouse. All my checks would go to the fucking townhouse. But
your rent.
Yeah, because I couldn't, there was no point. I was like literally in survival mode. Like, I was working to fucking do something. I didn't have time for my dreams, for my goals, and anything like that. And I never really did something because I was like, I'm just gonna work this job and I'm gonna work my way up until I become something better, because that's the mentality when you
make more money, the programming. Go to
which I did, which I made a lot of money in that place for my age that I was, and I always tell myself, I was like, man, Char, like a letter to myself, to my younger self, I always say, I wish you had the tools, because I made good money, but I just didn't know how to save. I didn't know how to do all these different things. And being single, you could have gone out so much. My problem was also, I always needed a fucking chile next to me because of I didn't know how to be alone. I couldn't be alone. I thought I needed someone next to me, and that's also a programming saying that you need someone with you
there. Yes, to depend on, or
to depend on. So when I turned 18 and I healed a part of my parents there, I think that's where my healing started, right? where I was like, okay, I need to forgive. I forgive you guys. We're family. I'm learning this. And I was telling him everything I was learning. And I got my mom and my dad to talk again. And it was like, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I was like, we need to come together. This, da, da, da. You guys should come do this course. And of course, Mexican parents are like, no, yo estoy bien. You know, like, I'm good. I don't need it. You need it. You know, they always try to fucking backlash, make you do the fucking work, right? Then, at that moment, you know, I didn't know anything about, you know, plant medicine, ancestral medicine, trauma healing, stuff like that, because we didn't. It wasn't as known. It was still taboo until 4 years ago, to be honest with you. Ever since COVID,
and with all the social media platforms and that there is out about now. I mean, unless you're in a circle or a community that people do it and they tell this person and then this person hears about it and they're like, oh, let's go here, or you know what I mean? And that's how I feel like it starts now a bit more.
Yeah,
that's
how it is now, because there's more resources to do this.
Yeah, more resources, exactly. And then you were saying, so then after that, what was the next move?
So I left my relationship, and then right away I jumped into another relationship that was super traumatizing. I got pregnant super quick. I was barely 18. I did have an abortion. At that moment, I was told, like, you cannot have this child. Why? And let me tell you why. Okay, because many people are going to have like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. And I respect everybody's point of view. Girlie, I come from trauma. I saw my mom trying to fucking pull all of us three, sometimes not having food, sometimes not having certain things. You know, like, I don't know how she fucking did it, to be honest with you. I saw her suffering. I just met this guy and I was like, hell to the fucking no. You know what I mean? I am not going to do this thing. And then I remember at this time, we were never religious. We were raised Catholic, you know, believe in La Virgencita and Dios. Da, da, da. By the way, till this day, I thought that Jesus was God.
Same here.
How traumatizing is to have an idol that was fucking sepultado to fucking die right there, all bloody and all these different things.
Yeah, exactly.
And because he had a don, a magic, because he changed worlds, but they make you seem like, oh, he was the best and he did everything, but we fucking gave him up. Well, I'm like, we give him up and we put him here because if you do this, you're gonna be in the same position. So now that I think it, I'm like, that's pretty fucked up how they make you feel that way, you know, with all the saints.
Exactly.
And we went to church only when my mom felt like she needed to pray, right? So, you know, it was never a lot of different things.
It wasn't a lifestyle thing. That was a continuous thing. No,
it wasn't. But lo que sí te voy a decir is that my mom always taught us prayer, for sure. Like, I used to pray every night. And I have a prayer that my son now knows, which is amazing because it's the same prayer that I did when I was little, and I knew it at 4 years old, and he just learned it like last year, which is amazing. Beautiful. Which I always tell him, you need to protect yourself. Because I tell him, I'm like, if I'm not here, and I'm being honest, if I'm not here, you need to learn how to protect yourself. And this is part of what I'm teaching
sharing with him. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
sorry.
It's okay. So around that time, you know, I had the abortion. I had everything. My mom didn't stop me. And she was like, puedes hacer, dice, yo no lo haría porque esto es lo otro. But I was like, no, I told the guy and he was just like, oh, I don't care. I went in. Everything was fine. And now thinking about it, okay, cuando se cierran tus caminos, when everything clashes in and you have obstacles and stuff because you're not supposed to. And nothing like that happened to me. And I was talking about this with someone the other day and saying that, did I regret it at the time? Absolutely, because fucking people tell you you're the worst fucking person. Do I regret it now? Absolutely not. Because I would not be in this space where I am, and I could probably not give that lifestyle that I give my kids now. Okay, number one, and number two is I wouldn't be here with you right now, probably. And something that helped me heal this a lot, because don't think about it, when people know you've done this, so that's something that you start to lie about yourself and hide it, right?
I personally relate to that because I talk about this in my last episode that I experienced too.
Did you have, you know,
I didn't tell anybody for a long time.
Yeah. You don't talk about it because you feel so ashamed.
Yeah, you carry shame with you for such a long time.
Yeah. And I didn't feel ashamed, especially when I started medicines right after that. So
the plant
I didn't
medicines?
feel ashamed.
That's when you started the plant medicine.
I didn't feel ashamed at that moment because I was like, you know what? I'm like, I feel
you know
like
what felt in your heart why you did it.
I just feel like I couldn't, right? Like I didn't feel the shame. I was just like, no, like I can't do this or that. The shame part comes from the family. The shame part comes from people that are like, that's the worst. You're going to go to hell.
Right.
And judgmental and stuff like
about
that.
what other people are thinking. Their perceptions of you.
So Dolores Cannon talks about something very important. And it's one of her books. It's called Between Life and Death. When I read that book 5 years ago, I feel like I finally forgave myself for this because look, I can tell you, I didn't feel ashamed and stuff like that. And I don't feel, but the guilt still stays inside of you, right?
Yeah.
When I read that book and she talks about how abortion and miscarriages are something that it's an interruption. You either interrupt the fetus or the fetus interrupts itself because you're not prepared or ready. She says that spirit always comes back to you. The same spirit that chose you, but you said, I'm not ready.
Right.
And it comes back to you.
Yeah.
And I see it with my child. I was like,
my child
wow,
too.
my son came back to me.
Yeah.
So that was that, right? So obviously fuckery all that time, drinking, partying, getting fucking faded, getting, living the life, supposedly living the standards of life, like with the Louis Vuitton, with the bottle service, with all this
and
pendejadas. All these all this materialistic things that in reality at the moment, it brought me joy, it brought me happiness, it brought me to become feeling like I was someone.
Your self-worth, right? It depended on looks too. Like I feel like it's a lot of things that we get our self-worth.
I mean, it's the vibration
things you have.
In. So I was always such a hustler. Like I would always like buy my own
wanted
stuff.
to do your own stuff. Yeah. Okay, can you take us back to that first plant ceremony that you did? What that was like for you? Or if you want to share one that stood out to you in particular, because I know you've done a couple.
There's a lot of ceremonies that stood up onto me, but my first time, okay? So the reason why I started coming into something, because I thought there was something wrong with me, because when I turned 19, I started having a lot schizophrenia.
Quote unquote, she says. Quote
unquote moments, where I was like, I'm listening to things. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having dreams and they're happening. Like, obviously, I was already spiritually rising, and obviously, like, I love doing the cards, and I would do them for my friends.
This was before the ceremony, or this is
all before everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in a state where I would see other people getting married, doing all these different things. And keep in mind, I had a pause where I had a relationship where I broke it off, and I was dating different people, and obviously getting to know myself, what I wanted and stuff like that, until I met my husband. And so when I was in this space, everything was going bad. I was going crazy. Like I was hearing voices, and I would go close to people, and sometimes I would be working and I would hear a voice, and I would be like, why are you thinking that? And like my coworkers would turn around and be like, what are you talking about? I didn't talk anything. I'm like, you just said this. And then they would look at me, but like crazy.
What were the voices you were hearing? Like, do you remember what were some things?
I like telepathically, I was connecting with their energy.
Oh, okay.
So it was like if, for example, if you were here and like your thought was like, fuck, I fucking hate myself. And I would be like, why are you thinking that? But like thinking like they said it, but they didn't. I didn't understand what was happening.
Oh.
And then they would turn around and be like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, you just said you hate yourself. And then their reactions were like, how'd you know I said that? I was like, I heard you.
What? Wow.
And so that's exactly when I was just like, I'm going fucking crazy. Like, why? Because it's a social room. Like, you're fucking going crazy. Like when if you start hearing voices, it's a programming that tells you you're fucking you're sick, right?
Yes.
And then I started seeing shadows, and where I used to work, there was a shadow, and there was a thing. They used to knock on my. I had a lot of paranormal things, and it was happening so much paranormal shit. And I was like, I need to fucking do something. So I started doing yoga, right? And then you go to yoga and you see all these professional people and you're just like you're trying to keep up with yourself. You're like, what the fuck are they doing? But you don't know the spiritual aspect, because westernized yoga is so much like, well, if you can't fucking lift your ass, then you can't be a yogi, you know? But nobody talks about the spiritual aspect. So I started research. So I spoke to my dad. I was like, hey, Dad, there's something going wrong with you. And I told him this. And he was like, te están haciendo daño. They're doing witchery stuff on you. And I was just like, and I believed it. I was like, yeah, you're right. Because I'm going insane. I feel people's vibration. I go to places and I feel overwhelmed. And I was like I was having so much anxiety and depression. I was already on pills, okay, because I was crying. I was doing all these different things, and I only took him for a week, and that was it. This was before I started my journey. And so I got, long story short, because there's so much that happened in between that stuff. When I took plant medicine, it was exactly 11 years ago. 24, yeah. My dad did a limpia, and then I met one of my uncles. So your
dad was also, he practiced like curanderismo too, like he did some other practices too. Oh, my dad practices
like, you know, all these things of limpias, and yeah, like I'm telling you, all our fucking parents did this, and they hit it so much. Like, why? If you could have told me this, I would have protected myself from I don't know, just saying, right?
You just learned. You learned the hard way.
So he told me, and I went to go get a limpia to Mexico with my uncle, and he did like this energy work on me, and I connected to a portal, and I was like, wow, like this is insane. And then I was like, this is amazing. I'm like, nature, duh.
This is when you took the medicine, or you hadn't taken it yet?
I hadn't taken it.
Okay.
I went to go get a cleanse, like a limpia with
It was just an energy work and limpia. Okay,
Yeah, it was an energy work and a limpia with santeros, because he was a balabao at that time. So they do like this African spiritual rituals and stuff like that. But it was so fascinating to me. Like honestly, girl, I was like, so like, this is so cool. Like, I feel like at that moment I had an awakening, and I was like, oh, this is fucking amazing, you know? And so, like, even though it's like bad stuff they do sometimes, I was like, wow, like I was so into it, right? And then I was like, okay, so he had a river. I did the cleansing and stuff like that. I came back, but I was still having the telepathically, I was still having energy. Now I would feel energy, and I would feel all these different things. I was like, there's something else. So I started looking up. Somebody said, oh, you should do ayahuasca. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was scared, because I was like, no, that's a drug. You know, like I can't be doing this stuff and everything. So when I met this shaman guy, and that day I remember he told me, he's like, the anxiety you have, and because he goes into trance and he channels like, you know, ancient people and stuff like that. And so he told me that my grandfather was pushing on me right here so I can become humble. And that's why I had so much depression, and I needed to look for the further help, because it was guiding me through my purpose. And so it was so fascinating to me. I was like, I gotta fucking know who I am. I know I am a fucking superhero. I know that I'm something else, you know? I know that I'm
asking more questions and just being more questioning
life. I started questioning,
how was your awakening? Like your life.
What am I?
Rebirth.
Yeah, like I was like, what the fuck? So I did my first session, and I remember when I took the medicine, it, you know, he has you there. It's a private session and stuff. Very expensive, by the way. I don't know how the fuck I did it at that moment, because I was spending my life with drinking and all this different things. But I remember that day, that's the first time when I took the medicine, and it started happening, and you can feel like that psychedelic trip where you're just like seeing things. And I remember he had a big old ass cuadro, which is like a mural, and that just started to like come alive. And I was just like, what the hell? And I looked at him, and he's like looking at me, and I was like, your face is changing. And I looked at my hands, and my hands were on fire, and I was like, and I started like feeling the anxiety during the session. I was like, what? I started panicking, which is a panic. You know, you're panicking because you're just like, what the fuck? Like at that moment, I feel like you feel like you're not human, you know?
And like,
it's like, oh my God, like, like I started going like, great. And he's like, just breathe. He put his hands on top of me. I fucking became like a whole fucking tree. I had an orgasm, like an actual orgasm. Like, Like I released trauma.
Wow.
Because I never knew what an orgasm was.
Yeah.
Because I was abused.
Yes.
So I didn't know what pleasure was and connecting to your sexuality and to all these different things. Okay, I've always been very sexual and stuff like that.
And I just want to pause there because, again, programming to making you think that quote unquote sexual is bad or it should be looked down on, or like
it's very bad.
Everything has so many different like perceptions. Like they make us think such different things about sensuality and sexuality.
And let me keep in mind, like, yes, like let me tell you something. Like I kind of understand why our parents kind of like triggered that us, because now I think it's like a pattern that we took on. Like if you were dressed too much, people were going to look at you bad and they were going to abuse of you. And I understand that, but you know, I understand that for many parents and, you know, all of us that we do that. But it's like, you know, if we had the tools of learning how to protect ourselves and be open and speak our truth and do things, we wouldn't have been here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I did all this stuff and I had it, or I was like, I feel so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, like, but then after that, I was just like, oh my God, everybody needs to do this. Oh my God, like, and I was like, my hands are on fire. And he's like, because you're a healer. And I saw myself as I am now doing the work I did. I had a you know, because when ayahuasca's not for everybody, okay? It's scary as fuck, okay? Until this day, when I have to sit with medicine, I'm always scared, of course, because she's always going to show you and she's always going to rebirth you. You're always going to fucking die anytime you take mushrooms, bufo, stuff, because there's a part of you that dies and you rebirth from this, right? So when I did that, I was just so astonished. I was like, oh my God. And I started researching and looking into like energy work, because he's like, you should become a Reiki healer. And I was like, absolutely, I am. You know, so I started looking into it. Yeah. I got my Reiki course. I got all these different things. And let me tell you guys something. Like the first Aya, I shoved it up my ass, guys. And why? Because the medicine lets you see the beautiful part of things. And I don't like to talk about my experiences because some people don't have these profound experiences because we're all in a different space. Yeah. Yeah. So then you have expectations, right?
Right, exactly.
Although I had a lot of trauma, I had a lot of faith that I was going to heal, because I knew I wasn't crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Girlie, I was going because I thought I was crazy. And then when I went there and I realized I'm not fucking crazy, I'm a fucking healer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was like, okay,
that would be my next question is like when you had that like realization at that moment, like, did you have any doubts or like fears? Like, how did you start to really embody that? And when you started practicing, like, what was that like for you? That process?
So keep in mind, I was still working, right? And I was still having a normal life, I would say, a 3-dimensional world life, right? And I was studying, I was looking into chakras, and I was talking about the mindset. And then I was reading like all this like profound Alan Watts and all these different things. And I got so fascinated from so much things. And at that moment, I literally said, there's something that came to me at that moment. I was like, I can change my fucking life, because this is all a game. I realized that was like when I woken up from this nightmare, from this humble life, let's just say, because this is what I chose to, right?
You.
Yeah, what I taught. And I had to go through every single part of my childhood to understand this, right? And then I started being there. Obviously, the effects of the medicine, you're so good and everything like this. And I was talking about it. I was like this and that. And I feel so healed. I started talking to my mom. I started talking to my dad. And I never told them what I did, because obviously the trauma that my mom had with my sister, she's like, those are fucking drugs, because that's what they tell you.
Yeah.
So I never told anybody, but my vibration shifted. I started doing things. I started turning on candles. I was like, medicine says I'm a fucking witch, so let's do this. Started like lighting up candles. Girlie, I started manifesting.
So you embodied it right away. Your frequency, your vibration, your frequency shifted.
I would imagine things like, I was like, I want to go to Greece. And then my husband now, boyfriend, we were going to Greece. And then I was like, I saw myself in these rocks, Thailand. And I was like, I want to go to Thailand. So I was going to Thailand. I went to, and then I learned about manifestation. So this is where I started thinking, because, you know, plant medicine is one thing. You go in because you're fucking broken, right?
Right.
But when you have so much respect and so much love and you're embodying what you're doing, because medicine can tell you, please don't turn left because the left you're going to fucking crash. But we're so curious and like, okay, let's turn left, right? And we turn left, we're like, oh, this thing. So it's a constant thing. I always say, if you come with the right intentions of healing, because my intention was like, I'm going crazy. And then I was given the gift that said, you're not crazy. This is your path, you know? And then I didn't understand my path was that path, because all the things that I did and all these different things, I didn't understand at that moment. Because there's so much inner work that you have to do. But at the same time, you're embodying all this bliss and you're like, oh my God, I'm manifesting. Oh my God, I'm going to light another fucking candle. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking do this. Like, I got so excited about so many different things. Then I started doing the energy work and talking to people. Even my clientels were just like, I feel so good coming here, because they would come to lose weight. And I'm like, look, you're going to it opened me to like be a whole different person.
So then you started working with them more holistically too. You're talking about, like, I'm sure they're healing them mentally,
unconsciously. I started working with them more. I'm like, look, everything's going to be fine. I'm like, look, this is life. You have to forgive. You have to do these things. Obviously, really embody like I am now. It takes time. Please, exactly, guys, like, it takes fucking time. You know what I mean? I kept sitting with the medicine
to integrate, and
I kept sitting with the medicine, and then I looked up because I still kind of felt heavy. I was like, oh my God, there's something happening. And obviously, like, going into the journey is not like, oh, let me just sit here, because plant medicine are non-addictive, guys. Okay. And this is the respect we have to have for these medicines all along, because they are here to help us, to protect us. And the other day I was hearing a podcast that's saying that alcohol was a spirit that would help our ancestors, and because they abused it, look at how alcohol is now. So we don't want to commit the same thing with our plant medicines, right?
Exactly.
No recreational, nothing like that. And when you have this respect to these plant medicines, they will give you the honorable gifts that you desire, because you're coming in with an intention of learning and growing. The more I know, the fucking less I know.
Intention. Exactly. It comes down to, like, intention, doing things with intention. It just makes it really difficult when we're in that survival mode. But that's where, like, the healing comes. That's where the healing comes.
At that moment, I was still practicing. I was like picking up the pieces of everything, living life, embodying, because every time you sit with medicines, what happens when you become like a spiritual healer, you want more and more and more, and you got to come back and ground yourself to actually embody and to have that conversation.
All right. So as we start to kind of wrap up the conversation, I know we could keep this conversation going on for hours and hours and hours, because I just love talking to you and hearing what you say, and just love learning about you and all the wisdom that you have. But since I got to pick up my son a little bit.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah. Just last thing. So for anyone listening who's like at the beginning of their healing journey, or isn't like sure where to start, or maybe it's afraid where it might take them, what could you say to them? Research, definitely.
Don't jump into psychedelics. Do not jump into psychedelics first. I wish I was told this the first beginning, because, energy work, combo, and all these different things, because it has taken me like 12 years now to be where I'm at. And this is where I come to teach people that if you do baby steps and you come into the thing, it's going to be more important. Maybe, go get a reading, go get a check with what you have to do, go do Reiki energy, quantum leaping, Akashic records, find out who you are here, because it's very important, so it doesn't get distorted when you get information from above the sky or ancestral. Because remember, when we heal with a plant medicine, we heal 7 generations backwards, 7 generations forward. So you gotta still understand who you are in this lifetime, in this present moment. So do any type of energy work, yoga, meditation, mindfulness. Open that third eye on your own. So when you come into sitting with medicines, the next thing you can do is to sit with combo, rape, hape. You can sit with then plant medicines. I will start with mushies, so you can heal your inner child. And then I will start with master plants like bufo, peyote, wachuma, and like also ayahuasca and stuff like that, because every single medicine teaches us something different.
Yeah, it teaches you something different.
And it builds you up. But definitely don't give up. And it's not fucking rainbows and color skies. When you open a fucking wound, you're opening, you're being conscious.
It's the work you're doing after that. Yeah.
Exactly. And integration. And let me tell you something. Spirituality is not a fucking hobby. It is a lifestyle. It is a daily practice for you to have this stability, to have all these different things. And do not lose the responsibility. Because many people on this journey start to lose responsibility. This is why we have to understand our shadow work, our integration. We have to read up
purpose.
On all this.
I feel like in your purpose,
and it's the like preparation you give yourself too. You know, like continuing to like find out things, listen to different people's, you know, things and stuff like that. But definitely start
That's helpful
easy.
To know. Yeah.
Baby steps that are going to help you when you get to source, because when you come into plant medicine, you will see God. You will see things that you will never imagine in your life. And only those visions are given to you. To be able to understand them, to implement it, to embody them is going to take us a lot more time. But definitely having the research, having the balance, the practice of meditation, and all this good stuff that ourselves can get into a own trance.
Help you for when
we're all
you
channelers. Yeah, we're all channelers. Remember that. So we can it can help you sit and with no fears. Because honestly, guys, if you're having a wound inside of you that you've never healed, these plant medicines are an ally. They are a great catalyst to help us really open those wounds. But it is your damn responsibility to keep that vibration and that flow and that consistency and discipline.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that, because it is painful, it is difficult, but yeah, I think coming back to that purpose and remembering that you know, we can get through it, and by taking, it's not a rush. It's not a rush. So all is amazing. Go ahead.
And it's we're never fully healed. Please remember that. I love that. We're always going to be healing every day.
Exactly. So if they want to work with you, like, tell us where they can find you real quick.
Yes, you can do at new age _ energy _ wellness, and you guys can always follow me there. I tend to put a lot of different things, you know. I wish I could record myself more of all the things, but I'm such in the moment, and I obviously these devices I try to keep myself away from as much as I can, but you guys can always reach us there. I do also have a podcast, and which I share.
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, meditations and just regular talks. I'm very simple, guys. I'm not trying to be all... I'm living life and learning as I come and teaching whatever I learn to people.
Well, thank you. Okay, yeah. So check out her. I'll put her links in the description so you can follow her on her socials. Well, thank you, my sister. We could talk so much, and we'll definitely have to schedule another one because there's so much more that I want to get into. Maybe do a part 2 or something like that.
Yeah, we should do a part 2 that left off like where I started my first one.
Yeah, for sure. We will. So keep an eye out for the second part. And thank my sister. I will talk to you later. Thank you, everyone. Everyone take care. And we'll see you next time. Bye.